Good evening, and welcome to HBCU Delaware Talks Talk Show. Happy New Year. This is our first show since the beginning of this year, and we want to say thank you for allowing me, we, to be in your living rooms this evening. I have some gentlemen on this show, all men. This is a man's thing tonight. So I have some gentlemen, some spiritual brothers from Faith Harvest and Mount Zion Greater Harvest Ministries International. And without God, there would not be an HBCU. So we have to touch each and every avenue in order for us to grow people, to grow communities, to have peace and harmony throughout the community, throughout the state, throughout the country. So again, thank you for allowing us to be here. We are considered or named the men of valor. So we have some men of valor here. And if you don't have an opportunity, if you don't know what men of valor is, you will know by the end of this show. So without further ado, gentlemen, thank you for coming on the show. I will introduce you because I'm not good at names, but we have Dr. Ray Williams, pastor of Faith Harvest Church. We have Mr. Mark Batson. We have Edward Jackson, Robert Ingram, Mr. Deacon John Dorsey, and Earl Morris. Did I get everybody? Did I miss a name?
Yeah,
Did I say everyone?
Got everybody.
Gentlemen, thank you for coming on. You know today what's going on in the community. There's a lot of crime. There's a lot of hopeless people. But because of God, there is hope.
Yes, sir.
Amen.
And if we have hope, I think that is a start. If we have community, and when I say community, I'm talking about we beginning to come together and work together, not in silos, but together for the good of the cause.
Amen.
So, one of the things I like to talk about, first of all, is what is our role in the community as men? What should we do to change this hopelessness? And you know what, you could chime in and come in at your own time. It doesn't matter, you know, we're just going freestyle here tonight.
Okay.
So what are we going to do about it?
Well, Steve, I'm glad to be here tonight, representing Men of Valor, Faith Harvest.
Yes, sir.
On top of that, and the fact that this is your school and what you represent with the HBC piece, colleges and education. I'm an educator as well with Harvest Christian Academy, and so we're believing in that. So I think our role as men is to be role models and examples, mentors, one leading another. As you said, you mentioned and talked about God and Jesus. Had Jesus, he became a role model. He came in the earth with us and went through the storms, participated. The Bible says that there was nothing new unto him that he did himself experience that we experience. So there's things that we got to be there, and there's some, whether it be the tough times, the good times, but how do we stand through them to be the example for the young men today? And I think that that's the missing piece. When you talked about men, we've been missing in the homes, we've been missing in the community. And and the other key part is there's no unity. All of us are doing these independent things over here. We can't get together to get behind one another and support a cause, not necessarily a person, but the cause that is right.
Exactly.
And so we get into that place where we start separating ourselves, and I find that to be the biggest proponent that's stopping us. And it's our young brothers are dying in the streets and falling apart education-wise. They're fighting for the wrong things. They're claiming territory that don't belong to them because they don't have a deed.
Right.
And no money in their pocket.
Right. Mr. Ingram?
For me, and just to piggyback off of what Pastor said, was I grew up without my father in my life. And growing up, not having my father in my life created a question of how my life would be different had I had him in my life. So I grew up with a lot of resentment and questions. And I believe this is a situation, and I believe it's by design. It's a situation that so many young men are growing up with situations with incarceration. Some men just don't want to be responsible, and it's real easy to walk away from that responsibility, you know. So it leaves a situation where a lot of young men and women are growing up with no fathers in their home. So as for myself, that was one of the major issues for me. And even when I had men who came into my life, I kind of shunned them aside because I didn't see them as my father, you know. And so it made it hard for me to relate to them. You know, it took me having to be still for a certain amount of years before I realized the impact that these men had on my life. And God dealt with me during that time because I questioned, like, why didn't I have my father in my life? Because I thought it was me. I thought I wasn't good enough. You know, I began to question those things, and he told me, I am your father.
Amen.
And I've given you many fathers to show you what it is to be a man, you know. So upon hearing that, I began to reflect on the good and the bad of those relationships that I had, you know, and those things that were planted in me then, I was able to start to apply them into my life.
Cool.
You know, and now I came into the spiritual aspect and I met my spiritual father, and now I'm getting a different perspective of what it is to be a spiritual man. So I know what it is to be a worldly man.
Yeah.
Now I'm learning what it is to be a spiritual man. And I think that aspect is missing, and that's why it's so important for these young men to have mentors, because if you don't have your father in your life, and I didn't, you have uncles and other family members, but they have their own life to live. And sometimes we have to be a little unselfish with our time.
Cool. How about you, Mr. Batson?
That's true. Well, to piggyback off of Pastor Rob, I grew up without a mother or a father. The only person that I had in my life was my big brother, which I'm quite sure you know, Larry Morris, you know, and, you know, to grow up, I grew up in church. I was raised in church. And until I met Pastor Ray, sat down and talked with Pastor just that first day at Faith Harvest Worship Center, I felt welcomed. I felt loved. You know, I couldn't ask for a better, not just natural father, but spiritual father. You know, you can go to Pastor Ray, sit down and talk to him about anything. He may just gave you that warm feeling of wanting to be.
Okay.
You know, there's 10 people in my family. It's 5 boys and 5 girls. If we were separated, these kids today, they don't know what it's really like to be without a mother or a father. You know, they want to hang on the corner. They want to, you know, do their own thing. But they need to learn. We need to not turn our backs on them.
So
We need to be there for them.
So
You
let me
know,
ask you, so not to cut you off, so to be fair, you're saying that the ones on the corner, you know, you said they don't know what it's like to have a mother and father. So my question is, well, I guess
well, most of them, they probably do have one,
one
but
or
they don't
or
feel
grandmother.
they don't feel the love
Okay,
from home like they should.
okay. How do you instill love at you know, at home? How come? Why is it that they may not be feeling love at home? What do you think is going on with the kids today, right now, that they're out there and they're shooting and there's a lot of gun violence? What's going on?
We got so many dynamics involved in that from that perspective.
Sure.
Social media, lack of economics in a home, lack of training and teaching. Maybe we got young parents who themselves was never raised and parented, parenting kids. So it becomes a cycle in a generation. Support, help, education is huge.
Yeah.
Those are, you know, here we're promoting black colleges. And see, we're not even thinking past high school,
How about that?
let alone to get to college. What a great opportunity. But the dynamics is so vast. But, you know, the Bible says love conquers a multitude of sin. And so we do need to continue to love on them wherever they are, however they are, but with an expectation and accountability to try to raise them up. That's one of the things that I'm believing. It's one thing at our school working with kids from an academic standpoint that we're trying to get to go to college. But there's a group of kids, young people, who miss this opportunity. We need to go back for them.
Sure.
So there got to be someone. So there has to be a willingness from men, from educators, from people in the community, from churches, from our government, from our leaders, particularly, and take that stance and say, you know what, we're not going to leave them behind. You know, there was a theme going around. It started, I think, with the Reagan era, talking no child left behind. But if we look at our community, there's a whole lot of kids being left behind.
Yeah. What do you think, Mr. Morris?
Say it again.
What do you think about that?
I think if you stay smart and hold your head up and do the right thing.
But what if the right thing for the kids is hustling, making money? What if that, see, to them, that is the right thing. Something's missing, you know, because for some people, that's okay. You know, this is all they know. So is that the right thing? For us, because we don't practice that, it's not the right thing. But for the person that's practiced that, now they're able to perfect it with guns. And to them, that is the right thing. And all of it goes back to that reading component that is so crucial by the 3rd grade, by chasing reading. But you know what comes to? Love. See, we don't know how to tell kids we love them. And we have to begin to tell kids, I tell them in the class, I love you. And it's a copy love. I love you because I have love in my heart. And love's an action word.
Right.
And if we don't share, we as men, we don't share love.
You know.
Oh, I want to hear. Go ahead, Mr.
No, you know, and just to touch on that aspect of love, that's the main component that's missing. You know, and as I spoke about with the family dynamic, the father figure is not there. You know, I knew when I grew up in the 70s, early 70s, you know, even if dad wasn't there, you had mom there, you had big mama,
Sure.
you had nana. So you had that component of love.
That's right.
Those people that taught you the moral values, that aspect of what it is to appreciate the little things, you know. And now that aspect has changed because Big Mama's only 45. She haven't lived her life.
How about
you
that?
know, so she don't even know what experienced love was, you know, because the person who she thought she was in love with left her or is away in jail. So now she raising a child that she don't even have a relationship with that man with no more, that she's not able to express the love that she should be able to express because she never was truly loved or have a real understanding of what love is.
What is love?
You know,
Sure.
so growing up, you think, I don't have this, so all you see is what you see in the world around you. And so your aspect is your circumference, so that's how everybody else is living. So hustling is the way to make it work.
And you know what? They're loved too. If you think about it, the ones that love them are their posse.
That's it.
Right.
They like me. I'd be like, yo, man, I love you. I need you to come
And
on,
that's
brother.
how they
I'm
know
trying
how
to
to
pull you,
recruit.
but I need you, brother, to live. They don't want to hear that sometimes.
Right.
You know, Deke, what do you think about them, Deacon Dorsey? What do you think?
Well, it's important as men to reach out and, you know, to show them love. One thing I like is that I like to let the men know that we love them. That you know, because sometimes a young man hasn't heard that, hasn't heard somebody from another man, not, you know, just to say I love you, and that's one thing. I guess I'm the senior one here tonight. I just celebrated my 75th birthday last week.
Amen.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Happy birthday.
And
all
thank
that.
you. And I have my oldest son. He's about the same age as you guys, right? But you know, when we have a conversation, you know, and we talk about everything, and then the last thing when we get off, he says, "I love you, Dad."
Wow.
You know, and have I been a perfect dad? No, I didn't do everything right, but he knows that I was always there for him, and not on him, but my daughters also, and that's important. Even, you know, my dad is still living to this day. He's 96 years old. But for 40 years, almost 40 years, I didn't have a relationship with my father. But then for the last 32 years, we had a very close relationship. And it's so important. And one thing I learned from the men that was in my life is a work ethic. You know, a tremendous work ethic. And this is what we have to, you know, talk to these young men and like you say, let them understand that the only time you see success before work is in the dictionary. And so we have to get them to understand and get that education.
Sure.
You know, and get on that reading level. And because, you know, not only to go to the colleges, but there's also some good trades and stuff that they can get in. And you know, they can make some good money in trades, but, you know, they see that fast money, but it's always, when you make a decision, there's always consequences. But you want to have good consequences and not bad consequences.
That's
So,
right.
but we got to be there to encourage them. They got to be able to see us out there, you know, encouraging them that there is another way.
Good. Mr. Williams, I haven't heard from you. Hold up. I'm sorry. Say your name again.
Jackson.
Jackson. Where'd I get Williams from? Oh, come on. Pastor. That's what I love about live TV. It's all right to make it there. Mr. Jackson.
Yes, sir.
What do you feel about that, man? This love
What am
thing.
I responding to? What was the question?
We're responding to love. How come we don't use that word a lot with our boys? Or girls either. You know what I mean? So girls, we're not leaving you out. Trust me, we're coming down your alley. So you just hold on and hold that thought. But the love as far as our boys, our young boys are concerned. Bless you, brother. Thank you. Go ahead.
My opinion is that it sort of got deleted out of our community, step by step.
Sure.
Our communities used to be like that. There was plenty of love going around, and like you said, Big Mama and Unc and everybody was around to guide you
Yes.
to try to keep you on the right track. But as they disappeared, it became more and more easier to do your own thing, which usually when you're young is wrong. And as far as, you know, the shooting drug thing, we got to realize that that's a very short end to life.
It is.
You're gonna get caught. You're gonna get caught if you don't die. And it's easier. The right way to do it is easy. Is to work. You have to work to achieve success.
Yeah,
That's right.
You're right. You're so right that the work ethic, because if things were easy to get, everybody would have.
That's right.
You know, and the work ethic. You know, I taught my kids. You know, they think they're supposed to have everything. You know, and I get it because they get a lot and they do well in school. But there's some kids that don't have or don't get a lot, and school is the last thing on their mind. You know,
That's
some
right.
kids, and you know, desegregation played a role in our community. I want you to know that. You know, they talk about segregated schools wasn't all that, but I'm telling you, because of having different things, more textbooks, you know, in the segregated school. But we had love in segregated schools.
That's right.
When they desegregated the school system, love was lost. Hope became hopelessness. And you're on a bus coming from Wilmington all the way out to the suburbs and get tired.
Yeah.
I'm hungry, I'm tired, I don't have any food, and you want me to go out here to this school. And you know what the attitude become? What does love have to do with it? So somewhere along the line, love was lost, and we need to get that love back.
Right.
What are we going to do about it? We have programs. We have some community centers. How do we get the boys to come into the church? What do we do as men to get our boys to start thinking about success? Because we have to raise the bar high. Some people's success is this high.
That's right.
And we can't look at everybody's success. It's like, if it's this high for that person and they're successful at this high and they feel comfortable with it, you know, we can't belittle them or put them down because that's their success.
That's where they are.
So how do we bring those kids up and raise the bar?
Well, I think one of the ways is, again, we in church, whether in the church or out of church, we got to meet them where they are. And the lost art is being the mentorship. So I can't, if Johnny, this is his view, not necessarily throwing the Bible at him, he's going to make a difference or change. But if I could show him love and appreciation for who he is and where he is, and saying that there's more to life than what you know, and show him a little bit of that with no demands on him that he owe me anything, but just showing him, as you said, love. Hey, life is better than this. Life is more than this. And, you know, that's one of my mottos as a pastor. You know, and then sometimes we got to not so, I don't have to do it with the Bible, which is in me and on me, but I don't have to beat him with it. But I can love him because of what the love in the Bible tells me to do. And so I can be that role model. And that's one of my models, you know. I want to be able to tell them, hey, you can look good and live well. You can drive good. All these things are possible. They're not just there. I know y'all thought the drug dealers were the only ones that did. No, that stuff's real. See, he looking over his shoulder. He can't sleep at night because he don't know who's that. That's not my issue.
Right.
And so, but I want to show them, get them out. But again, it starts with us being real men and showing them real love without demeaning and putting anyone down for less than, and saying, you know what, this is where you are? That's where you are. I'm gonna meet you there.
You know, that's funny that you said that. And going into, we as a community, we as having different agendas of doing things. The kids see what we do, and we put each other down. You know, instead of uplifting each other. So if that's all I see in my home, that I'm being put down, I don't care. And we got to get kids to begin to care. So that's one of the things, as we as men have to step up the game as far as showing these kids that we care about them, you know, whether they are kids or not, you know, because this game that they're in, man, they don't know how to turn the other cheek.
Right.
And what I'm saying is that if you step on my shoe, I'm gonna come back and shoot you. These type things. They don't know how to change that or turn that. So how can we get more men, you know, to get out here? I mean, they say, well, you know, you go stand on the corner, you know, and talk to the kids and preach the word to the kids. If that's your call,
Right.
if that's not your call, you're not going to
Don't
do it.
do
You're going to
that.
be scared to death to do it. But how do we get more men to come together so we can impact our community?
As a young man who was from the streets, who from the age of 19 went to prison and did 13 years, I can speak to that. because one of the keys is you're gonna get some who want to change but don't know how to change, and you're gonna get some who just want to stay and are comfortable where they're at. You know, however, we still got to create that opportunity where they can make that choice. You know,
There you go.
I was one of those who wanted to make a change, you know, and I realized that my selfish acts was affecting the people who I say I love, you know, and that's where it comes to the aspect of really understanding what love is, you know. So when I was in the streets, when I was doing the things I was doing, I said I was doing it out of love, but really I was doing it out of my own selfishness. You know, in some ways I didn't know any other way, but I wasn't trying to find out any other way. I allowed myself to be comfortable in my discomfort, you know, and that's what's happening with so many of these young men. They want to do something different.
Sure.
They want, but they scared of the unknown. They're afraid of the unknown. So we as men who've been through some stuff, we can share our testimonies and how we came up out of it and begin to show them and guide them.
In that same phase, you're a perfect example. So as a pastor and a minister in the gospel, I couldn't be afraid to be a mentor to this young man who I know was incarcerated for 13 years. But his incarceration doesn't make him any less than or any more than who he really is. My job is to now meet him where he's at, love on him, and to develop him. And so what we got is, he's a perfect example of what it is, because he's now risen up and out of the situation where he was. God has given him another chance, but I didn't meet him based off of what he did or didn't do. It was based off of what he could be. And so when the potential of the leader that's in him is now coming to pass. This is my Joshua. So he's a Joshua in place. I'm looking at a person that's ready to step up and do. And you know what? He wanted more, and because he wanted more, he started to do more. But and again, we had the meeting where he was at. It's 14 years later to get here.
And gentlemen, don't hesitate to jump in, okay? This is a rap session. Bitter. And our boys, these kids, some of them are bitter. Some of these adults are bitter. How do we turn that bitter into sweet? Our girls are bitter. Our girls in school are fighting. They want to fight. They want to go fist to cuff. I'm afraid a little bit of where my daughter's going to go to school, because girls are fighting. If you got a girl that's pretty, long hair, smart, it's a girl that may not be as pretty, with short hair, and not as smart, they getting caught up in what you look like, not what you are like.
But that's because our society has done this. We've now told them that beauty was in certain things. But God can't make a mistake, then the beauty has to be in everything.
Right.
And again,
How do we
nobody
get that,
tell them that.
You see what I mean? How do we get that message out?
It starts at home.
You know.
It starts at
Yes.
home, and that's what's missing. There's nobody there nurturing them up and letting them know how beautiful, how precious, how much of an impact they can have on life if they be who God called them to be. And that's so a lot of our children are facing the identity, not just children, we got grown people
Identity
facing
crisis.
an identity crisis.
That's a
They
good
don't
one.
know who they are.
Right,
You
right.
know, or who they have the potential to be. That's why we have a president who could say, look, they come from a-hole countries, you know, and he's not really just saying about, he's talking about even in our inner cities. He's saying these things about our children because he's saying that they're not having no impact on where we're going. So that's, if we're not having no impact, they're not trying to put nothing in there.
Yeah, we have to, man, I'm calling you. I'm challenging you, man. We have to really come together. People are scared in their own homes. They're afraid. Sometimes they may see something that happened, but they're not going to say anything because this is what I'm thinking. I don't know. I don't trust the police. So why am I going to tell them? Because are you going to protect me from being shot at? And I saw it. So it's a trust thing. We in our community, brothers, we have to now begin to show trust in each other, so it can trickle down to those kids that don't trust each other. Our trust system is done.
That's it. Well, you know,
If they don't trust you, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Steve, excuse me. I think that, like you said, you know, you don't have to be on the corner. We or you, we don't have to go out there and, okay, if I go over there and go to talk to that brother over there, is he gonna pull out a gun on me, or
Sure.
is he gonna, you know? I think, just my opinion, I think if we have more sessions like this, to where the men are speaking out, to bring some of the kids that are hanging on the street or going and doing what they're not supposed to be doing, have a session like this
Sure.
to where they can open up. That would be good.
I think that I agree with that. I agree with that, but it starts every time we meet a young man. You have to act like a man, show what a man looks like.
There you go.
What a man talks like.
Right.
How a man handles himself.
Right.
That's where it starts. You see, when it starts every time we meet a young man. That's when it starts. You act like a man, and he'll say, "Wow, look at him." You know. Eventually, might happen right away, but the seed's been planted.
That's right. I'm a firm believer. Einstein said, if you do the same thing the same way over and over again, expecting a different outcome, that's insanity. Do you think this is happening right here in Wilmington, Delaware, that we're doing the same thing the same way over and over again, expecting a different outcome? We have got to make we have to be the change
Right.
that we want to see. And we need more men to come on the set, come together. What you're doing, Men of Valor, I love it. Deacon and I, we came over to the church. In church, this is what we have to do. We need a real, we need a gigantic revival
Come
for the
together.
men.
Come
We
together.
need a big, gigantic, across Wilmington, Delaware Men's Day.
Yes.
Not at one church. I'm talking about all churches on
all
that
churches.
same. We have to do it. These, you know, it gets me. During the civil rights movement, these folk, they sacrificed. They did not ride the bus for the bus boycott. It's a different type of sacrifice today. And what we have to sacrifice, this is what I think. I don't know what you're thinking, but you'll tell me. What we have to sacrifice now is our agenda.
That's it.
We all have an agenda. How rich can I get? What can I, greed. You know what I mean? We have an agenda. We have like minds working in silos. If you have a leader that started something like in Men of Valor, jump on board. Don't reinvent the wheel.
That's right.
We want to reinvent the wheel. HBCU Delaware Coalition, jump on board. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We need men because we are going to impact our community with a positive outlook. The News Journal will set us on fire whenever we do something that's negative. But as soon as we do something positive, the News Journal doesn't come around. So we have to begin to do positive things in our community all of the time so they don't have a choice.
And you know, one of the things that you said is key is we have to make a sacrifice.
That's it.
And what happens and what keeps us apart and from not coming together is position, titles. We all worried about position and titles, you know, and that so long as we're worried about that, we're never going to get things accomplished. You know, we're never going to be able to come together to be a unit as one, because each and every one of us here are each individual.
That's right.
And each and every single one of us have our own testimony. So if we come together as a unit, regardless of who started it, we all have our own testimony. We all have something to share, and that testimony alone is going to be impactful. There's nothing new under the sun. So the same thing that we went through, these young men and women are going through too. But they need to hear from us who has risen up out of those situations.
We got the mass incarceration problem. You know, it's no doubt, black men are in jail. They put us in jail.
And women.
We react to being in jail. How do we proact not to go to jail?
Right.
And I know they setting up. I know you know, government sets up different ways. You know, and you know, it doesn't matter if you're black or white. It matters if you're wrong or right. But I see, you know, it's a system that's been designed. But why can't we design the system?
That's right.
Deacon, what do you think? Pastor.
There's no reason why we can't. We have made a decision. You said your key question. You said we've been doing the same old thing, expecting a different result. The reality is we got to change. If we're going to be the game changers, it can't be talk. It's going to be our action. Faith without works is dead. If we really going to be who we said we are, then we got to stand up and do it. And so the doors have to be open. You're right. We got to change the agenda. It can't be about me. It can't be about my program. I may have one, but the overall is I'm talking about the good. You know, someone had come to me and says, you know what, I'm surprised that you're interested in going after the young people and doing some of the things that you're doing in this city, and you're not from here. And I was like, what does me being from here got to do? I live here. So if this is my home, I should be a part of where my home is and the community in which I live. And so we got to get involved with the community. And I know, not just my sons, but I get 100 other kids a day, and I'm involved in their life. So in doing that, I got to be, and my granddaughter, for example, my granddaughter's class was calling me Pop-Pop because she called me Pop-Pop. And many of them didn't have a Pop-Pop. So I had to be Pop-Pop to that class because that was a role they saw, and they didn't have one. They couldn't distinguish the difference. It didn't matter that they didn't call me Pastor Ray, Dr. Ray. The titles are meaningless. I was Pop-Pop. That was more important to them.
And they were glad to call you Pop-Pop.
Right.
They needed Pop-Pop in their life.
That's my point.
They want a Pop-Pop in their life.
That's my point. That was more important than the position or the title that I have. And those are things that we got to be willing to let go of and let down. And we got to come together. And that's what I've been asking the men to do. We were glad to welcome another group. But you ain't even just got to come to our place. We can come to your place.
Did you hear that,
So we willing to, and we are. And that's one of the things that's different. Even me. I'll help anybody. I'll help many ministries. I've helped lots of people in this city. They know it. Why? Because that's my heart. That's my goal. But the problem is we don't do it consistently. Someone just told me they're not going to support you. They're not going to support. That makes no sense to me when the thing that I'm talking about having support in is the right thing for our city.
You know what? That's funny you said that because and this costs money, this show, and sometimes it runs out, but I can't stop it because now I got to somehow come up with money because, you know, before you know it, we will have a Bible study on my show. We will come in here and talk about some things. We will get the men and bring the boys in because we can do that on LAPA Channel 28.
Right.
Because they allow us the freedom to do what we want to do, as long as it's positive, as long as it's impacting our community. So I welcome you all the time. We have to make a change. We have to sacrifice.
You know, and you're saying that because I'm from one generation, but my son's down there, he's from another generation. He's a millennial. But you know what? I've been an example in his life to try to guide him and lead him. He had choices. He could have chose some of those other things. But because I met him where he was at and dealt with him as a son from that position, he chose to kind of walk with us and live his life and do some things. And I'm proud of him right now, the things that he's doing as a young man, because he had the same choices, but he had to make it. And I realized I got to let him go.
You know, about the millennials, is it true that millennials don't eat?
Oh, they eat all the time. They eat
Listen, I heard that millennials, they eat at 4 a.m., all they eat is McDonald's, and they go to work at 4.
all the time.
They sleep all day and go to work at 4 a.m. Is that true? Really? What can we learn from the millennials? Because one of the things that I'm starting to see is that, you know, the millennials, they have a group. They're dynamic. They're fast. They're brain. How do we, and the millennials, like my generation, I'm in my 50s, but how do we, our generation, work with the millennials? Because they're over there, we're over here. The millennials are saying, well, I have arrived, I'm taking over. You know, I get it, and they can. How do we get involved with that takeover? We don't want to just sit down, you know what I mean? When I'm a senior and it's time to sit down, I'm gonna sit down. But right now, we're not even cohesive with the millennials in my age group. So how do we combine? You know, when we think about election, the millennials, they have a big following. You know, now their followers for the millennial, but we are all people. How do we have that following? All of us. We need millennials. We need the babies. We need all of us. how do we get the millennial men, and they're seniors, because I'm not a senior, but I'll get there. But you know, how do we get them to work together on some of these things? Because you all have some ideas. You all are computer or children.
Right.
So what's going on in that mind of the millennial? What's the mindset? 'Cause I don't know.
I think being a role model and to the people, to the young people out there, and showing them what it's all about, can, change people's minds is
Trust.
and trust and the loving that you share to them. And at times people would come into the field, but
And
it's
then,
gonna
I
take
mean, a
time.
lot of them are sharp. You know what I mean? They went to school, they're graduate, they speak really good, and they wear suits, and it's good. I'm a firm believer that each generation teaches a generation.
Right.
You know,
That's the missing piece that you're saying. Each generation teaches, but there's been a gap where someone have stepped away from their teaching role and being responsible and being that mentor to be accountable. They just gave up and said, we pushed them aside, and so we got this big gap between one group of men and another group, and there's a group that just totally missed it, missed their sons, missed them growing up, not even a part of it through incarceration, through some of the other pitfalls that exist in life. Okay, now at the bottom line is some of those things exist, but what happened after you've done that? Can you stand up and be who you're supposed to be, in spite of the relationship not making it, in spite of you taking a fall, in spite of all of those things? We got to stand up, and again, I don't think there's any one right answer, yet God is a major part of it. So I believe information, revelation, the two together can make an impact. Is if I got all God and no information, if I got all information and no God,
that's right.
I think
That's right.
you're going to be lacking. So both of those things are necessary in this world. Okay, as we live in this life, and I think it's a major component.
I'm going to take a 1.5 minute break to see if anyone's in the green room, if that's the case. So, as
One, two, one, two, one, two, one, drop, ready, play.
welcome back, and thank you. We're going to get right back into the topic. Our seniors. Our seniors are afraid to set on their porch, to walk to the grocery store. Back in the day, my mom and them, they used to walk to the grocery store, Hearns, Hoy's, A&P, I'm old school. You know, they can't do it anymore.
No,
They
they
scared to
can't.
walk down the block. On Clayton Street, you have Lancaster, you have 2nd Street. Not too bad, but once you get up to a little further up, you know, it's like you got to watch it, kind of watch it back to walk up the street. You know, we have to do something to take the fear away from our seniors. And a lot of younger folk don't see that because they don't realize they're going to be seniors eventually. You know, how do we,
You're right, boy. Maybe.
how do we begin to stop that madness, to get our seniors safe? You know, you want to live to be a senior.
Well, you know, we're dealing with the issue with the seniors. We're dealing. For me, the belief in the system is we got to cultivate our preferred future. So we gotta. If we desire a preferred future, then we got to put in the things necessary to get it. So my thing is, we started with young kids. We started with babies, and we 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, and working our way up and teaching them how to honor and respect, and loving on them, letting them find what that's like, nurturing them, so that that same thing that's being done in them will be done later, exposing them. So it starts, and so we kind of in a building process, and we got to go back to that. And I think, you know, that's a part. And we mentioned earlier again, this can't be something that we just do. It really needs to be something that's done as a culture of people that we've moved away from. We don't support one another, and we don't do the things that's necessary. It becomes a political fight for everything. And so now we got divisions everywhere. But our last God Exposed call talked about us about being a body. And I have never left home and left my foot. Because my foot is connected to my body, even if it didn't feel like going.
How about that?
It still went, you know, and so that unity is a missing piece of being together as a group. And so we got so many different agendas, so many different things going on. And if you're fragmented, all you're going to have is and the fragmented pieces never come together, all you're going to have is fragmentation.
I agree with Pastor Williams on that piece. Also, part of the piece for me is that everybody's working 3-4 part-time jobs now. You don't have time to be at home to develop a family unit. You come home to get ready for another part-time job. And it's not like we're doing it because we want to. We're doing it to survive. Things have to change.
Let me ask you. Go ahead.
And it's funny that you say that, because I was talking to my sister, who my niece goes to Georgia State, and we were talking about how the family dynamic has changed so much, and it all goes back to that love, that family dynamic, and everything that we're going through is not just by happenstance; it's by design.
Of course.
It's no question about it. We know it. It's underlining factors in it. And the bottom line is that we have to really get back to the root cause, love. The love is that missing piece in everything that we're talking about, love. The Bible, the New Testament is all about love. So when we get back to that root cause, love is the thing that's truly missing. And as you said, we have to have love for one another, regardless of what one is doing and what you're not. It's not about titles, it's not about positions. I can remember growing up even in the 70s where if I did something and Ms. Johnson seen me do it, Ms. Johnson snatched me up, and then Ms. Johnson took me to mom, and mom tore me up. And then when dad came home, I got it again. So there was somewhat of a level of respect, even to where when I became a young adult, and even when I was doing what I was doing in the street, there still was a level of respect. You didn't do something, you didn't do things around the elders. Certain things you had a respect, and that's what's gone. And that's gone because the love That nurtured love is not there in the household. And like he said, mom got 3 jobs because dad he's incarcerated, you know, but Sue don't have that issue.
Yes, and you know, I skip around and you know, things as they come to the brain. And you're right. Let's talk about businesses. When are we going to? How do we begin to support business? How do we grow?
Oh, that's huge.
Our business. I mean, you know, I'm not saying we talk about minority-owned businesses. We have one. We have Stone Oven Pizza now, and they're doing a great job over there. Thank you, Stone Oven Pizza. Put it out to that place.
So
businesses. When are we going to
So
start?
you just talked about that. We just started a business there, a new business as well at Harvest Banquet Hall, 1801 Lancaster Avenue, an executive hall, a banquet hall that any of your affairs could be held at and used. You know, and we're just getting started, and you know, it's an opportunity to have. I don't have to go to the country club that I couldn't afford, but I could come to a local business within the city, in the community, with a spirit of excellence, done right.
Is it affordable?
And it's affordable. So that was important. That is the range and the cost.
You cater to?
And catering is there. All
Really?
those things. And you know what? Every Friday we got dinners being set.
Really?
So and you know, on Sunday we're going to provide a brunch. So there's different things that could be done, and we're trying to do there in the business. But we need our community to support it. We go to all. Listen, we all need to eat. We all need to, but we have to support one another.
We have to support one another.
Okay, we doing it all the other places, and then we say, "Why we don't have something?" Because we don't take care of each other or one another, and we're taking these times to do that. So that's a great. I mean, I'm a business mind. You know, I support that, and then in our business, I'm putting people to work.
See?
In that, and it's people that's connected to us, or people that may be looking for jobs. So we've able to provide jobs. Not only in the educational industry, but now in the banquet industry. Doors are being opened.
Wow.
But again, I hope people see this as an opportunity for them to grow and to be a part of something.
Right in Wilmington on the west side.
Right here.
Yep.
Do you see that? I know they're saying that they have the flats over off of Union Street and Center City is going. But do you know how many minority or black-owned businesses are opening up right here on the west side?
On the west side.
You got a soul food restaurant. You have your catering and the banquet hall. We have to talk because we want to do an HBCU breakfast.
We'd love to have you.
And we've been searching around, and we need the breakfast. That we'll talk about that. But then we have our business, Stone Oven Pizza, and there's another soul food business. I mean, so we're popping up. Listen, Lappa's right here on the west side. Television, the airways. We have the airways on the west side. We have to grow. This is an opportunity. This is opportunity as we speak.
One of the reasons I was talking to somebody the other day about that, and me and Pastor, we talked about credit unions a long time ago, quite a long time ago. Talked about people investing in stock and stuff like that, being investors. You know, right now we're in a situation where we're in an economic boom. But are we
a part of the game?
Are we a part of it? No. Right. And one of the things he said to me was, he said, it's hard to get a follower to become a leader. He said you have to have a mind shift from being a follower to be a leader, because only a real leader could be an owner, because you're not thinking about loss. You're thinking about opportunities to grow.
My sister-in-law, she's the best I ever did. I get married at her sometime. And she retired. Her name was Linda. She's retired, and she's prayed up too. She's a retired GM worker. And my brother-in-law, Fred, they decided to open up a business. That's how I fell into it. Then my wife and I, we're involved in it. But the Stone Oven Pizza, and she opened that up to really, I believe that she wants to help her entire family. You know what I mean? Not only her family, but church family, the people that want to do. She's hiring everybody, and sometimes you don't understand everything, but God really uses her for what she's doing and with that business, because there's people working, and she's working, and she's making it happen to impact her family, to show them a way. God's giving it to her, so she's giving back. God gives you, so you're giving back. God gives me, so I'm giving back. And sometimes it doesn't always have to be given back financially.
Right.
That's right.
Because everybody say when you give, well, you're not giving me no money, but I'm giving you knowledge.
Right.
I'm giving you I'm giving you love.
There you go.
Opportunity.
Important thing.
You know,
Really.
and that's where I think that's where we have to now begin to put time into the community,
Yeah.
into our men. Men, I'm asking you, reach out. I'm on Facebook right now. Reach out, send me some numbers. We got to do this thing. Summertime's going to impact. It's summertime's coming. It's going to be a lot. We have businesses now where God is showing you that we can do things, you know, in spite of how I might feel about you. I might not like you, but I'm just like you.
That's right.
So I have to love you in spite of
of.
my likes and or dislikes.
Right.
That's right.
You know, so it's about love. That's when people say what love have to do with, it's all about love. And you know where love is? Right here in the HEART. It's in the heart.
Yep.
You know, that's the love, the heart that beats. So we're talking about love, and we really got to share this. I mean, at least tell 10 people that you love them. Anybody else have anything to say? Because we can ready to close down. You see how fast an hour goes?
Look,
You guys are long-winded. I
Steve,
noticed that.
You talk about perfect example of my August Quarterly security team. I put the guys to work, you know,
See?
because they want to work. I have the young boys that come up to me, well, Mark, you know, how come you let them work last year and you didn't let me work? How come you didn't tell me? I think last year I had more of the youth. They didn't even want to be paid. They said, Mark, we just want the opportunity. It was my opportunity to give them something. You know, to show them that I do care. I do love them in that way, that anything that they need, Steve, they could come to me with it.
That's
And
love.
I'm going to do the same thing this year. You know, they're talking about bringing on the August Quarterly. They want to do the parade this year.
Good.
I want to put the youth to work.
And here, with the August Quarterly, and we're going to have to close out, but with the August Quarterly, I'm challenged. I challenge you, every single church, reach out to the August Quarterly this year. I'm talking about every organization in the city of Wilmington should be reaching out to August Quarterly. I know they say Peter Spencer, we're not that denomination. No, it's kingdom building.
That's it.
That's what it's all about. Now, Peter Spencer did what he did because of, you know, but it's kingdom building. But thank you for allowing us to be on here. I love you. God bless you. God keep you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for having us.